All the evils of the world, can of worms, Pandora, nothing is left but hope. October 21st and the following 7 days. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is G. You're watching Allastrology. This is the week of October 21st and the following 7 days. We're going to take a look at the astrological events, the planets up in the sky, the luminaries, midpoints, asteroids, some stuff you probably never heard of, some stuff you might even have known of, and it's in your chart and you're aware of it. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Mars. All right, so first things first, we start off with the sun, and it's nearing a critical degree. You see, this is Monday, the 21st, and we have the sun here at 28. I'm going to draw another arrow to help you see that. I apologize. I've already recorded this video, and yeah, all my stuff shut down on me with the days following to the September eclipse. Because my Uranus was part of that. And so the technology world kind of just came, well, it just decided to go on strike. It just said, you don't need no stinking technology. All right. So with that said, there's the sun. All right. It's that circle. So it's at 28 in Libra. That's his relationships. Sun is an authority figure, can be a parent, anyone who you consider the boss of you in some way, or even someone perhaps that you look up to. So it can be a spouse or a partner, boss at the job, mom and dad. But partnerships, significant partnerships are highlighted here because it's Libra energy. So this can be personal and professional, not one or the other. It can absolutely be both. And 28 degrees, I always find interesting because it gets right to that 29 degree mark, right? It's the one right before the critical 29 degree, which is like the ultimate authority figure. So the 28 is more about family and emotions, and definitely women and mom energy is 28 degrees. Now, this is all quick because the sun moves 1 degree a day, right? It is very fast, but I will tell you there are other things right at the beginning of this week that make this feel a little bit more emotional and heated than normal. And with that, we go over to Mars. Yes, Mars is still in Cancer, okay? So because Mars is in Cancer, and on this day, the sun is at a degree of Cancer, 28 degrees, think moon, think the sign of Cancer, think the fourth house, think family, think history, think of the past. Doesn't have to be your family's past, but it sure can be. We think of emotions, and we think of the history of women, and think of culture and your ancestry, and think of, well, there are some who say that, especially in America, that women had more rights, 10 years ago than they do today, which seems a little backwards, doesn't it? Like we somehow went backwards. So lots of these issues, right? Healthcare, women's healthcare, reproductive rights. I mean, there's a whole lot of things here, and abortion, a whole lot of things where these medical procedures are on the ballot, literally on the ballot for the coming election. So Mars, we've learned also that emotions and the public is the sign of Cancer, and the public getting very heated and riled up because Mars can bring the waters boiling. So we've seen some really, really detrimental comments and talk within for people who are running for office, political speech. Really bad. Can't even use the word speech. It's really sad. It's bad. And it's causing major damage. And it's riling up the public. Like as I'm doing this video, yeah, just a lot of, unnecessary and could have been avoided damage, right? Like a menace to society when people are using damaging words and pointing fingers at certain races. Like this shit's got to end. This is like how like 6-year-olds, we expect this from children, not adults, right? We got to learn to just be more mature. So with all that said, Mars goes from 25 a completion energy, 24 degrees, a completion. Think Pisces, think politicians, beginning of this week, right on this day, which would be Sunday as well, the day before, because Mars is a slow mover. And if you look carefully, probably Monday and Tuesday, because Mars only goes to 27 degrees in 7 days' time. It only moves 3 degrees in 7 days' time. So you're noticing that this Mars is going really slow in Cancer, and it is. And I will also give everybody a kind of a heads up here. These degrees, these later degrees of Cancer energy are super important, and we're going to be going over and hearing about a lot of these issues again because Mars has a retrograde coming. It doesn't begin in the sign of Cancer, it begins in the first degrees of Leo. So, heads up, Mars retrograde happens in the first degrees of Leo, not number 1, but number 6, right where Pandora's boxes. This is where Mars's retrograde begins. Now, this Mars retrograde isn't beginning right at this moment. We have some time away from it, but I'm pinpointing it right now because you're supposed to be like paying attention to what goes on with Pandora at 6 and Mars at 24. And what happened this week? What happened during this time? Because these events, as Mars goes through the last degrees of Cancer and then gets into Leo, and stops at 6 degrees and then begins retrograding in 6 degrees of Leo, we're going to be hearing about whatever Pandora showed us, releasing all the evils of the world, can of worms, Pandora, nothing is left but hope, and then retrograding all the way back into Cancer. Mars will retrograde back into Cancer energy. So this to me is really important. I don't think it's something that should be ignored. I think it's something that unfortunately, sometimes things have to get worse to wake people up, for them to comprehend what's going on. And a lot of Cancer energy is about history. To find out more about the Mars retrograde, there is a separate video for that. All right. I will include the thumbnail here or there if you haven't seen it, so you can go watch it. Possibly, definitely, maybe rewatch, triple watch, whatever you need to do to understand where it plays out in your life. Because for sure, where everything is up in the sky and the experiences it goes through, we do see it. Even if we don't think it happens to us directly, it may happen to someone you care about. So Mars goes to 27 by the end of the week. Now, because it's at 24, it's kind of like at a finality degree. We're going to look over here at Mercury. Mercury starts off the week at 22. I'm sorry, at 12. My bad. I'm looking over at the big Mercury. Mercury starts off here at 22, at 12. 12, get it in your head. This is also a Pisces degree. You see, Monday, Pisces degree, water, just like Cancer energy. This is the wounds of the past, the soldiers, right? These are people who've been wronged in some way. There's trauma here. Soldiers, but you can be a soldier and have never fought what we consider an actual war. Like, I'm in uniform, I'm fighting for a country. No, there's a whole lot of different ways to have battles, especially depending upon where Scorpio is in your chart, right? For those of you who have Scorpio in the 4th house, holy shit. Like, it's too real. The battles in the home are just too real. The battles within the family, right? There's wounds there, and they're from the past, deep emotional wounds from the past. The thing is, the Scorpio is supposed to bring change to something that's hidden and buried and deep and psychological. So it's not something that we like sit around the table and have coffee over. No, it's not something that we're hearing about in the news. Scorpio is usually the shit people don't want to talk about, right? It's normally what it is. It's the undesirable kind of stuff. And many times shit is so undesirable, we kind of push it away. We stick our head in the sand and we refuse to see it. We only want to see what we want to see. We only hear what we want to hear. Well, Mercury in Scorpio tends to let you hear about shit that you don't want to hear. And because it's in that sign of politicians and politics and Pisces, so movie stars, right? Before I go to the next planet, I just wanted to say Mercury's going to end off at 22 for this week. Just so you realize in your chart, Mercury's going to go from 12 to 22. She moves 10 degrees this week. okay, in Scorpio, fixed signs. So that means it angles Leo energy because that's fixed energy, and the other fixed sign across from Leo is Aquarius. So this can make communication hard with coworkers and siblings and neighbors and cousins and peers, or just regular communications, as in snail mail, telephone calls, people in my neighborhood, like going to the merchants and the businesses. Scorpio can be insurance money. So I'm there's something I like about Mercury and Scorpio because it's strong, it's powerful, it's the super detective of the zodiac. When Mercury goes into Scorpio, watch out. It's showing you stuff that you thought you knew it all, right? And here it is showing you some more undesirable shit. So this Mercury going over the details, possibly of those policies, possible of shared values and shared interests. And yeah, I think insurance and how insurance on homes is skyrocketing because of all the natural uh, nature events. That's a better way of putting it. All the nature events, the global warming, right? It's all occurring, and it's difficult. It's difficult to bear with because it's a shared burden. Yet, man, it's making life very financially, even more burdensome than it already was. So then we go to Venus. Now, Venus at the beginning of the week is at 4. And I think I started talking about her at the end of the last video because we wanted to talk about the Venus trine with who? The Venus trine with the can of worms. Right. This is at 4 and 6 degrees, right? So 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees of Leo energy, maybe even 7 degrees of Leo. And at the opposite of Leo is Aquarius. This is stress and tension in communications, but not just communications. I'm thinking Mercury because this is the Mercury degree, but health routines, day-to-day routines, coworkers, my job, my tasks, my projects, literally the job, the boss at the job, even possibly. Think Virgo stuff. Think perfection. Think of being very analytical, detail orientated, and maybe striving for a perfection that just can never be achieved. Pandora's box would be like, okay, just know when to back off, man. Otherwise, the can of worms will absolutely be opened. And some would say, let that damn can of worms be opened. Well, I'm more of a believer in steady. Bring it out gently and steadily. I'm not saying let's avoid it, but I'm saying I don't want the can just open and just poured right on the plate. I would say let's open it in a calm, kind of a controlled manner where we can kind of take out bit by piecemeal and handle a little bit at a time. Um, I just think with Leo, we're real courageous and we might be overly confident too because Venus is the money, the dollars in Sagittarius. This is an energy of a lot of confidence. So we might even be hearing about a lot of confidence and consumer confidence within the markets, right? Now, Venus is also feminine energy. So this is why I've got this blown up big here because the beginning of the week, the female energy is really big on the chart and it will continue to be. It will continue to be. It's not about red or blue. It's not about, you know, when it comes to your health care, there comes a time where you have to bring some sensibility into the picture. You either go to the doctor or you don't. Like you either seek out a professional when you're having medical issues, women specifically, you either seek out medical profession or you don't. Because to say, well, we're just going to leave that in God's hands is being ignorant and blind to the mind that God gave us. God gave us a mind for a reason. I'm not saying to reject prayer, to reject your faith. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is don't throw your power of seeking out somebody who's wiser than you, someone who is professional, someone who's an expert in that field to give you second and third opinions so that you have options and choices. And this is what this is about. Taking away women's choices, taking away people's rights. This takes us now up to some of the big stuff I have drawn up in that right-hand corner. because this whole week is colored by all the things I just talked about. All right. The sun and Mercury are the fastest movers. And one of the beautiful things about that Mercury that I didn't say, but let me get back down there real quick, is Mercury is more than 10 degrees in front of the sun now. So we are really getting revelations. We're really getting revelations. We're really um, probably getting a window into our own deep psychology, into our own fears, into our shit that's been hidden, and what is, like, what's the basis of it, and how the basis of that fear may have been driving some of our beliefs and our choices, right? So this Mercury can be telling, but it's to be telling about you in your own world, in your own life. Where's the Scorpio energy in your chart? What is it revealing? What is Mercury revealing to you about yourself? That's what we're trying to figure out with Scorpio. It's your psychology about you, your history, your past, your soul's memory. Okay. Now, with that, more water. Water's strong. Water's prominent this week, right? By Tuesday, the sun has already moved into Scorpio. So you got the sun in Scorpio, you got Mercury in Scorpio, right? Yeah, is already starting to trine Saturn on Monday. And so is the authority figure, it's the boss. This is a retrograde. You see politicians and communication, but it's also Hollywood, but it's also my dreams. It's also my fantasies and my thoughts. And you know how this is what I dream for my future, or gosh, I don't know if that could ever even be a reality. It's such a dream. The difference is Mercury in Scorpio trining Saturn may give us a jolt of reality. Nessa has a very negative, almost a revenge sort of vibration to it. I've been trying to figure this Nessa energy out to see how valid it is. And I'm here to say it's valid. It took me a while to figure it out, but it's been sitting on my moon for quite some time now, for a couple of months. And since it has been, I've been able to really kind of pinpoint it in my life. And whoo, you really gotta see it for what it is. And so along with the reality, then there's that doom and gloom of Nessus within Pisces, and conspiracy. There's a conspirator. There's someone who's planning and plotting. So that's part of the confusion of Pisces and Nessus with this Saturn, even though Mercury will be trining Saturn, right? So that strong trine, it begins on Monday. So Monday, Tuesday will be strong because the sun moved into Scorpio. And then Wednesday, what happens is that Mercury starts sitting, getting to 17 degrees, 16, 17, sitting in between by with a trine between Saturn and Nessus, right? It goes up in degrees. So it kind of sits in between them, like ping ponging back and forth. So this could be a boss and an authority figure, a parent in your life. It's Saturn. So it's someone who makes the rules. It's retrograde. So it's strong. So it's rules and regulations. Hopefully, some rules and regulations for people in politics. Okay, hold on one moment here. Hello, hello. So the Nessus energy makes it kind of difficult. It really does. It does represent somebody who is there, um, literally a bad actor, because it's Nessus and Pisces. So literally, like the keywords, a bad actor, somebody who is there to there's some sort of an intent behind their words, behind their performance. How about that? And the intent is usually meant to be very harmful, because this is the centaur who sought to kill Hercules. Like, this isn't a whimsical intent. This is an intent that's there just to do some damage. Now, the 17 degrees of that, because it's been here for a long time, that 17 degrees, believe it or not, yeah, that's that authority figure degree. Like, you're not the boss of me. I'm the boss of you. You'll do as I say. I will rule over you. There is, without a doubt, a fascist like movement growing. And what that means is you will lose your rights. And this isn't about trying to, put fear into you. Okay. It's just the reality that is absolutely, you know, what's going on. Now, whether somebody else calls it that, doesn't matter. Look it up. Look up the word fascism, look it up and figure out who matches most likely with that definition. Like what politician, what senator, what house speaker, what person who's running for office, any office, right? Big election year. It's time to really start using our brains, even though um yeah, even though they make it confusing. All right. Enough said about that. The next thing is this. This right here is the midpoint for Uranus and Pluto. So it's changes on a very deep level, and usually surprises have to occur. Shocking things have to occur. New, unconventional things have to occur for the change to happen. Deep, deep change below the surface level. Pluto's in Capricorn. All right. So we're trying to make deep changes within government. The trick is that changes that are being spoken about being made, sometimes some of those changes, if you're not being very careful, they are including you losing rights, even though certain individuals may say it's not about you losing your rights. So there's shocking and unbelievable things that are being revealed, that are being talked about, that are literally are coming out of individuals' mouths, okay? Use that as a guiding light. Use that as a guideline for this midpoint, because this midpoint is saying, for whatever reason, the people need to be woken up. And remember, Uranus is the awakener. So it needs to be that Big Ben alarm clock going off to wake us up to what's really going on. At the end of the day, if you're in the States, I'm assuming you love democracy, that you want your vote to count, that you want to have a say in the way rules are written or the rules that are written and the laws that are passed. Like this is the defining moment, folks. What is it? A couple months before the election. So, on a small scale in your life, you're looking at 27 degrees of Pisces. This is such a big event because we had an eclipse here in September. We had a lunar eclipse of an ending here in September. It was at 25 degrees, right? But Neptune and this midpoint are here at 27, so they're conjunct that spot. Eclipse energy doesn't end the day of the eclipse. Eclipse energy has a lasting effect for years after the eclipse occurs. So every time a planet or an object in the sky, an asteroid is what I meant to say, anytime something angles, aspects, conjunct, whatever, that eclipse point, that issue comes up again. It presses on that eclipse ending, the ending and the closure. Definitely of a political party, even though many may not see it that way. They probably see it as a rebirth of a political party, of certain political parties. But either way, this is a process of deep transformational change. And it's to be the best for the most and for all involved, which is usually not what happens, but that's what we're striving for. That then takes us next to this big, colorful cloud up in the sky, which is the South Node and Black Moon Lilith and the can of worms. These are all together because this is at 6, this is at 6. She's at 6, right? Yeah, let's go take a look at that. Why does that matter? Because, and remember, this starts on Monday, but it carries out through the whole week because the can of worms, she's not super fast. Not only is she not super fast, but this is where Mars is going to begin its retrograde, right? So these nodes, this node, the South Node in particular, has been sitting at 7 and 6 degrees for months, all summer. And now we have Black Moon Lilith conjunct the South Node. This week, Black Moon Lilith is retrograding and she goes backwards. She only goes to 2 degrees of Libra and she's going to then go forward again. So Black Moon Lilith is conjunct the South Node at 6 degrees this whole week. So when we think Virgo energy, I also want you to think emotional well-being, not as in maybe emotional was wrong. How about intellectual well-being? How about that? Emotional well-being is more like the Cancer energy, but this is more of the intellectual well-being. Like, how is our mind working actually? Do we have control of our mind? Do we have access to the thoughts? Can we put our words together so that what's in our mind matches the words that are coming out of our mouth? Are we aware of what's coming out of our mouth? Like the day-to-day routines, the minutia, the detail, and then also, of course, the jobs and the projects and the tasks and the stock market and all that crap and business and government and corporations. Black Moon Lilith puts her hand into all this, okay? What I do want to say is pay attention this week. Even though there's no eclipse this week, I got to believe from what I'm looking at, there's more big things to be revealed, okay? So there's a lot of things being talked about and shown to us this week. There's a lot of reprioritizing with our values this week. Venus goes from 4, right? So she's trining the can of worms, our values and women energy. It's a trine, which means it happens easily. So it's with our values. There's likely going to be a change in values, a swing in values, because this is freedom and justice. This is searching and seeking the truth. Okay, that's Saggy energy. Now, yes, this is also judgments and the Supreme Court and courtrooms and judges. It's all of that as well. It's also my going on a flight on the airline. So we think of the unions and the problems Boeing is having and the unions there. And anyway, so there's just a whole lot of that happening. But people paying more attention to the future and what's going to be better for the future, not only for your wallet, not only for the planet, but for you as a human being and for your daughters. The power of Black Moon Lilith, feminine energy, the South Node, which is a moon's node, feminine energy, the past, because it's the South Node, and Pandora's box, feminine energy again. So these 3 in that cloud are sextiling on this day and in this first week. They're sextiling, but remember, Mars will be back here again. By the time Mars gets here, this South Node will no longer be here. But folks, I'm really, really confident that there is partnerships that are ending, diplomatic partnerships possibly, political partnerships for sure, because this energy here, it's almost like the veil comes down. It's almost like that. The veil will come down. And, you know, hopefully when people are making choices and they're going to vote, hopefully they'll be voting for humanity. Hopefully the vote is for humanity, because when you vote for humanity, you're voting for civil liberties. You're voting for rights. And every human, every 2-legged, I mean, hell, every 4-legged for me, but every 2-legged should have equal rights. And the amount of feminine power that's present in this chart for this week, to me, is astounding, just astounding. So Mars is up at this chart and it sextiles what I have outlined here. Okay. And so Mars is the fighter, but it's everything I already talked about without telling you I was talking about it. Surgery, surgeon, the ability to fight for my rights and my freedoms, my body autonomy, Mars energy, women's bodies, women's rights. It's Mars there. Obviously, Cancer energy is the public and feelings and homes, So that kind of all flows into this as well. And we're being smart and being cautious because Mars usually is someone who carries a weapon. It's not always just the surgeon with the blade. It can literally be someone walking around with a weapon. And when you have a lot of hate speech going on, when you have a lot of just really, I call it juvenile because that's what it is. It's juvenile. It's like you don't know what else to talk about, so you start calling names, and you pick from the lowest to the weakest. Well, I should say they appear to be the lowest. They appear to be the weakest. You just start, kicking dirt in someone's face, and it's a bully. It's just a sign of a goddamn bully. And I don't know about you, but I got no room for that in my life at all. Make sure that your belief doesn't bring harm to another person. So if your religion is spewing hatred using words, we got to ask ourselves, do I want this for my children's future? Because Sagittarius, folks, is the immigrants. It is immigration. This is on the ascendant of the United States chart. This is what this country is founded on. Foreigners. This country, your ancestors, my ancestors, were not born here. They came from across the pond and moved here. You follow? So we have to figure something out. With Mars trining this, there's action of some sort taken. It could have to do with judges. It could have to do, and we're going to hear about it in the news because it's 27 degrees at both sides. 27. So the news, social media, the beliefs about my future, religion, spirituality, freedom. Okay? All the Sagittarius keywords, my ability to travel long distances, to be on that airplane, go on vacation, to go on a journey. How about higher education in the college campuses? I think this is big. College campuses, for sure. And trying to take away a student's right to protest. A peaceful protest is one of your civil liberties. Never give that shit up. The day you do, democracy is dead. A peaceful protest is so important. But when they try to take away certain curriculum that is to expand a child's mind, a young adult's mind, you know that fascism has come home to your country. So beliefs are big. Beliefs are big, and the beliefs about the future and the judicial system. All right, in the news for this week. And starting next week, because remember, this is next Monday, Mars is trining. So the weekend, another hot weekend, another hot Monday. We'll pick up there on the next one. You got questions, let me know. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.